God's blessings, everyone. My name is Bill Brandel, and this is a video post for U.S. History 512, Module 2. The selection that I chose for this assignment was Chapter 1 of Daniel Driesbach's 2016, Reading the Bible with the Founding Fathers. I also read several other sources about Driesbach to help me understand his writings. First, let me share a little background on him. He is a PhD and has a law degree. He is a Rhodes Scholar and is currently a professor at American University. He's noted as a specialist on the Constitution. Daniel Driesbach's father was actually a physician and a missionary in leprosy camps throughout the Third World. And Daniel was actually born in one of these camps and gains a decent amount of his education in these camps, actually, and where he learned the Bible and Christianity firsthand. Learned how to write using the Bible, learned how to read using the Bible. And he likens that to how most colonial Americans learned how to read and how to write in the 18th century. And thus he has a more equipped ability to understand the Founding Fathers' thoughts and impressions in their writing. One of the things that Driesbach points to in reading the Bible, the Founding Fathers, is that they didn't use quotation marks or they didn't use footnotes, because when they were speaking or writing, they were writing to people that knew the Bible extremely well. And thus, if they made a reference to something or pulled a story from something, people knew what they were getting at and what they were using and what the source was. And therefore, they didn't do that. It's interesting. He points to a kind of a neat story with Benjamin Franklin, who is in France, and ultimately is writing back to an American minister saying, "I really enjoyed your sermon, and I plan on sharing it with other people here in France. But in order to do that, I'll need to add quotes and footnotes into it, because the French people, for the most part, do not know the Bible like colonial Americans do." So I thought that was an interesting kind of analogy there. But one of the things that Driesbach does in his book, which is very interesting, is he uses historian Daniel Lutz's work and ultimately says that the Bible is quoted more often than any other political literature or source between 1760 and 1805, more than Montesquieu in The Spirit of the Laws, twice as often as John Locke, which I think we'd all be surprised by. It's noted that Deuteronomy is the book that is cited the most often in this period, and that verse 32:7 is used, and that is, remember the days of old, consider the generations long past. And that is Moses urging people to remember the past in order to live better lives today. One of the things that Driesbach does is that he emphasizes the influence of the Enlightenment and rationalism, and says that, yes, those things were important, but the Bible and Christianity is really what drove the themes through the Founding Fathers' writings, and they were based upon, the need for the role of civic government, liberties and civil responsibility, whether citizens have the right to resist tyranny, rule. And then finally, Driesbach pulls from historian Mark Knoll by quoting him with, "The nation's founders were conversant with Scripture, which should not be surprising, for they lived at a time when to be educated member of the Atlantic community was to know the Bible." So ultimately, he concludes that the Founding Fathers absolutely knew the Bible. It absolutely drove their thoughts and their impressions in what they were writing about. And then ultimately, that is a common theme throughout our history, and people should embrace that. Thank you.